We're back, Lewis.
Mr. Brown, how are you?
Feeling great. Fabian Brown, Lewis Marks, 21 Soul, Nick Perri behind the camera, our producer. I'm excited. 21 Soul is a place where literally everything can happen.
Anything and everything. We are ready.
Interesting start to the show, Mr. Marks.
The Honeydrippers, 1973, 74. This is the time I remember when we were talking about impeaching the president. And I chose this track because I like the sound of that.
I dig it.
You know?
I dig the instrumental part of it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right. Are we going to argue?
No.
I dig the impeach the president part, but, you know, we'll go from there.
It kind of makes me think a little bit. Impeach the president. So let me flip that. You know, not that we want to get political, but maybe we do.
I'm ready.
You're okay.
I'm ready.
All-time top 3 presidents, United States presidents. Your
top 3 presidents.
Top 3 presidents. Could be living, could be dead. Presidents.
For the people that they are, I'm going to start with Mr. Jimmy Carter.
Okay.
Yeah. Nothing but respect for that man. Not necessarily for the job that he did while he was in the White House.
Okay.
Because I think he fought, you know, I mean, he's fighting history. But, you know, the last 30, 40 years of his life have been really stunning. From working with Habitat for Humanity and kicking that off, on to being, you know, an international voice for peace and justice, you know, and also fighting his own Southern Baptist Convention. I think he's a member of the Southern Baptist Convention, and he decided to remove himself from that when one of the issues on the table was, get this, whether women could walk into a church next to their husband or behind their husband.
That's a thing? That was a thing?
That was and is a thing. Carter opposed it and removed himself from the Southern Baptist Convention at that time. Now, is that 100% exact? Not sure, but I know that I read things that he was opposed to that. You know, and he left it.
All right.
And we're seeing the results of that these days. Well, so I wanted to come in with Impeach the President, both because it's a funky tune, and it also speaks to a time when political turmoil was sort of like, you know, part of the art.
Do you want to impeach the president?
I would like to annul the presidency. Yeah. Impeachment is a long and dirty process.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're going to come on now here with Fima Ephron.
Oh, man, I love Fima. In the hi-hat.
I was waiting for that sax to come in. It's in here somewhere, right?
It's in there. Not on this track. It's in there.
I got you. Let's talk about the personnel on this record. Break it down.
Well, I mean, listen. Songs from the Tree release date is coming up October 26th. Fima Ephron, and the lineup. So we got Fima on bass. I mean, you can hear this dirty bottom, man. Chris Potter on saxophone, on tenor saxophone. Adam Rogers, guitars. Nate Smith on drums.
Nate Smith, I've heard that name before.
He is another Ropeadope artist.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and Kinfolk was the record that Nate Smith put out.
That's right.
Fima was the bass player on that record.
That's right.
There you go.
A little reciprocity there. I like that. Kevin Hayes on piano, David Torn on loops, and Adrian Harpum did the mix.
Yeah, and Adrian, this comes out on Modern Icon Recordings, Adrian's label, via Ropeadope.
That's right.
And he's building a really, really solid bass. And this is just, it's quality all around. But what I like about it the most, and I said this to Fima in a podcast interview that I did last week, he's a bass player, right? He's a badass bass player.
Sure is.
I mean, the credentials are ridiculous, and yet he's not showcasing the bass.
No.
He's just there.
I think a musician first, bass second, and hopefully that doesn't offend you, Fima, but you can hear it in these tracks that it's not like, let me show off on what I can do on this instrument.
Right.
It's like, here's my compositions. I want to get back to it though. So you said JC, you said Jimmy Carter.
JC, I love that. I love that.
You got to give me two more.
Those are great initials. Just saying. Yeah. Two more?
Two more.
Ah, gotcha. I'm gonna go William Jefferson Clinton.
Okay. I did not have sexual relations with her.
Right, that's what everybody focuses on.
Sorry.
Yeah, the fact that the dude, just had some sex with somebody, which I dare anybody to say that's a bad thing. But the circumstances are wrong. We expected more of a president at that time. For some reason, we don't now. But whatever. And he got he looked like that Weasley guy that got caught in a situation.
Right.
But that's not what I'm talking about with Bill Clinton. I'm talking about the commitment to the overall growth of the country. Talking about going from a deficit that was false when he got into office, turning it into a budget surplus, and bringing the next great industrial or technological revolution to us. I mean, he oversaw that. There's no, history cannot deny that the internet was created under that.
Right.
And you can argue that maybe that just would have happened, but legislation is important and support is important. And I think he did a great job. And so that's number 2. And it speaks to where America was and a rebirth. We had our great heyday, right?
Okay.
We the automobile,
America.
the highways, America. Yeah, the United States of America. And then if you look at the tech companies of today and the domination of basically internet technology that Google and Apple bring, we needed that third wave.
Interesting.
And we are a powerhouse today because of that.
They call it the information age. We're in the information age right now.
Or they call it the third industrial revolution, I think. Here's a song from Big Hands Rhythm and Blues Band.
Is titled Thoughts and Prayers, set for October 26th this year, 2018.
Thoughts and Prayers, bringing the politics right back into it. I think that's a real sly reference to thoughts and prayers, which people offer in times of great crisis, which aren't enough. Yeah, this track really, I mean, you could take it on, great songs lyrically speak to you personally, but they also speak to the world that's around you, right? So, in this context, we can actually say this song references America, Things aren't what they used to be. And it's got that gravelly, sad, industrial voice that tells us that, this is kind of the death of America. It's a lamentation, and we can all relate to that, There's times we die and there's times we're reborn right here on the planet,
That's the truth.
So, yeah.
So you gave me Bill, you gave me JC, number 3.
Yeah. So now we're gonna get into politics, folks. I'm gonna talk about Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
Okay.
Because I balance both the virtue of a Jimmy Carter with the practicality of William Jefferson Clinton, or lack of virtue. For those of you who think that, Franklin Roosevelt was handed a place in history when the country was an absolute disaster. It was more gravelly than his vocal right now in 1935 through 1940. Our country was. That's the middle of the Great Depression. We're talking about the Dust Bowl. We're talking about you don't have food. We're talking about the entire structure has fallen apart.
Right.
And there's no way to do it. And Franklin Roosevelt instituted a heavy socialist policy, what you would call today as socialist, but it's really about social help. It's about the government as an agent, as an instrument to kind of pool the money and invest in the population. Okay. So you've got the WPA, you've got the artists. They were building dams. They were paying people to be artists, and they were building things for the country. So basically, the government was able, under Roosevelt, to fund projects that, if everybody's broke, couldn't particularly afford, that individuals couldn't afford. And even individual companies, like small businesses and even big businesses at that time, couldn't afford, right? So the government said, we're gonna borrow some money from the future, we're gonna put all this money together and we're gonna pay things, but, and we're gonna put people to work.
Man, I gotta read some books, man. Like I knew this. I knew a little bit about this, the stuff that they teach you in class, right? But I was never self-driven to let me see, I was just never self-driven. I don't
know that that's your fault. Well, I don't think that it was presented to us in the 70s, 80s, 90s in school,
right?
Which we can talk about if you'd like.
For sure.
That this was any kind of particular visionary thing. It was taught as a sort of necessity thing, right? But if we look backwards and we see all the wealth that's in the United States right now, we can clearly see that the infrastructure was built by post-Depression politics. And Roosevelt oversaw much of that. The interstate highway system, the railroad system. I mentioned public works, but all of this stuff, the government invested in the people.
Interesting.
The government invested in the people so that
they could thrive.
Everyone could thrive. That's not happening right now. Right?
It's hilarious.
Yeah. No, it's kind of like they're actually saying that it's some sort of radical, demonized idea that the government could invest in the people. The government right now is saying, fuck the people, let's close the gate. Let's build a wall. So.
Yeah. And you're going to pay for it. We're listening to Dred Scott. This release comes out September 21.
What's the name of the track?
This track?
Yeah.
It's Goodbye America? Is it? No.
Goodbye America.
Goodbye America. Okay. Goodbye America.
I'm not that negative. Yeah.
No.
I'm not that negative. That's 3, right?
That's 3.
3 presidents.
I'm going to switch it up, though, because you you stayed in that positive vibe. You gave us your, we're going to talk politics for a little bit, and we kind of kept it at home. But for those of you who are not living here in the United States, let me take it across the pond, as they say. I'm going to challenge you on this one.
All right.
Okay. Well, maybe not, but...
I think I'm ready.
Okay. Hitler versus Stalin.
Deathmatch?
No, we're not a death match. Okay. Although that might be a good conversation. Who was the most, the worst, the most vindictive?
Who's more evil?
More evil. That's the word
more
I'm looking
evil.
for.
Yeah, man.
Death match. Oh, that's good.
No, it's
that's
like,
good.
I was envisioning some sort of like video game, and I really don't understand why they don't have that. Right? Like why you can't choose Hitler or Stalin as your character in any given game.
Right.
Just like a wrestling throwdown or something. I think everybody knows that Stalin would win.
It's heavy, I know.
It's sad. It's sad and heavy, and I sense that you're bringing it up in the context of everything that we're talking about.
Yeah, man.
I think the answer is both, neither,
okay,
and all of us.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
All of us.
I don't like to vilify a given individual. Although, if you commit a crime or multiple crimes, then, you're supposedly, you need to be held accountable. Not supposedly, you need to be held accountable for those crimes. But we're talking about political figures. We're talking about people who presided over an entire country. And there's a point that you reach where the power is out of the control of the populace and in the control of a particular individual or a network of individuals a network of people who actually support the individual. And I'm gonna make that argument. I don't think there's a Hitler without the organization that supported Hitler,
right.
And I don't think there's a Stalin without the organization that supported Stalin.
Okay.
So there are going to be a ton of people that are complicit in supporting a person. I think we're very much aware of that right now in the United States of America,
right.
With the Republican Senate and the Republican Congress. I think that there is no Donald Trump without Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan, and everybody who's down the line doing that.
Right.
Like, they got to go to work in the morning and say, like, are human rights good or bad? And they're like, well, I don't know. What do we need to do to support Mitch and this whole thing, right? So, to me, they're all the same. I guess the answer is they're all the same, and it's the collective will of the people in dark times.
Wow, man.
So,
accountability on the masses, not just on the individual who's running the show.
Well, we all live our lives. There's the question is, what can we do, right? And I think we talked about this before, and we're coming out with a beautiful song, but I think that they're in dark times. Facts, awareness are important. I just love this. I'm just gonna.
This track is.
Maurice Brown.
I'm 4 years old. The air, land, the sea, they get into your soul. And I'm like a space rocket just waiting to explode. Homeless billions on this planet begging to get in cash. Now I'm seeing what they're seeing, they know it never lasts. Getting high off the supply, they say they getting low. You ain't hearing what they saying, send them to the store. My brothers be friendly them, cops they ain't standing them. Black folks prep for the police, but now they scared to come. Took my man's dead in the street, face on the pavement. Killing the shit and they get away with it. Right now I feel they only see me one way.
What's beautiful about this track, I mean, aside from the fact that it has a certain gentleness and positive aspect to it, it seems to me that it's specifically written about African American black life in the United States of America, and yet we can talk about our political situation and where we're going, and it still applies. Yeah. It still feels like I'm empowered, even though I'm not part of what the original intent of the record was, you know?
That's because of who you are. That's
No, I think that most people, if they listen to this, would be like, yeah, man, I feel empowered when I hear this song. You know? He brings a certain sense of beauty to it, you know?
Maurice is a bad dude, man. I mean, he has obviously his composition and his playing together. The roster of people on this album is just stupid. You know, it's funny. I'm looking and I'm like, oh, okay, Chris Turner, Weedy, Talib. Obviously, you're hearing him right now.
Saunders sermons.
Yeah, it's just like the crossover. You know, Chelsea on tenor.
Love Chelsea.
Yeah,
and that's her vocals. I mean,
that's her singing. Yeah. So what's the answer, Lewis? I mean, you know,
what's the answer?
Come on, bro.
Jesus, turn the
camera
off. Turn the camera off.
I want answers now. I want
no answers, kids.
I got kids. I got kids coming up.
This is for our sponsors. Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
No, man, we got in deep. We got in heavy. Sometimes you have to. You brought up Stalin and Hitler.
I mean, listen.
I'm just saying.
It's relevant. Yeah. It's completely relevant to what's going on today, man. And I'm not articulate. I can't speak to politics the way you can speak to politics. I just know what I feel, and I do have hope. Right, I have a gang of kids that it's not about me. It's about their generation and what they're going to make of it. Right.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, what's the answer? Because you have years.
Or how do we proceed, like in this moment?
Right. What's the next step? Maybe is a better question.
Right. What's the next step? Yeah. Well,
keep on pushing.
Keep on pushing. Right. So kind of threw that at the end. I mean, man, I think that. You don't know when the darkest hour is.
Right.
I think that everybody needs to be vigilant. Everybody needs to pay attention.
Okay.
You know? I mean, you can't, it's not enough to walk around these days and go like, you know, I don't really care about that. You know, I don't know what's going to happen. I think people should vote. I don't know what the next answer is. I certainly don't feel that protest, while it's good, I think they kind of like called the game on that. You know, like if you go out and any protest is going to be effective, it's going to get crushed. I mean, there was Kent State in the late 70s, and they kind of learned the lesson, like, don't shoot them, just arrest them and move them away, and then put a spin on the thing, right? So, vote. I gotta say, the power, it's all about the money at the end of the day. It's how you spend. You know, if I have an answer, my choices are, you know, I don't spend when I can on people that don't support my rational ideals. Rational ideals are responsible government, people taking care of each other, let's get the homeless guy a house. You know, like, he doesn't have a house, let's get him a house. Like, very simple shit.
Right.
So, but I don't know. And, part of it is weight. But the biggest thing for me is, keep your eyes open. Keep your eyes open.
Keep your eyes open.
Yeah. Everything is not what it seems to be, and keep on pushing. I'll say that.
Wow. Well, with that, listen, if you're not subscribed by now, you need to subscribe. You need to hit that notification bell. Bing. Ring the bell. Drop some comments down below so we know, just so we can feel the love and the vibe. Check out 21 Soul Man. We have a bunch of interviews coming out. We have podcasts coming out. We have this show coming out. Radio shows. We have interviews. I mean, what don't we have? We have live performances. What else we got coming up?
We got no dancing girls.
No. That's on another channel. Nick's going to make a call. All right. I'm so glad my wife doesn't watch these shows.
To be fair, we have no dancing guys either.
Nick's going to make another call, too.
Nick. Fabian, bro. Thank you.
Thank you, Mavis.
All right.